Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our September Mentorfish keynote. If you don't know who I am, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Keith Kochner. I'm the founder and creator of mentorfish.com. We are, as many of you already know, the most affordable resource for leadership and professional development training on the face of the planet right now. And so I want to welcome you to our monthly event. Many of you that are watching tonight are members of Mentorfish already, so I want to welcome you and say hello to you. This is actually a live broadcast. You know, if you could see my watch right now, it'll say the same time as yours, maybe difference of time zones, but we are live. And I just wanted to come to you this month live. It's been a while. We've had great keynotes, but you know, obviously they've been interviews or other famous people or successful authors or business people. And we've had to, you know, pre-record them slightly ahead of schedule for the evening presentation, but I missed all of you and I wanted to get in front of the camera and get in front of one of these monthly keynotes and just share with you some things that I think are extremely powerful and important to our lives and our business this evening. So I'm glad to be with you. If you're a guest and you're not a member of Mentorfish yet, I want to welcome you as well. Tonight will be a wonderful training for you. It's a free event. It's something that we do to serve the community and serve people all over the world to get to know who we are, what we do, why we do what we do, and the value of our training and our content. So I know as a fact tonight, we've got people watching, of course, here in the United States. We've got people watching in Canada, in Mexico, in Sweden, and in Australia. And so I want to welcome all of you to this keynote, whether it's late night, middle of the morning, or early morning for you, or here in the United States sometime in your evening. I want to welcome you to this broadcast tonight. And we've got a lot of great things in store for you. Just a couple quick announcements that you may be interested in, and we're going to jump right into the training tonight. The first one, many of you know about what we do, and we do this every single year, only one time a year. We have an annual teen leadership event. You know, if you're watching tonight, or you're maybe watching the recording of this later after tonight, and you have a teenager, I would invite you to email me. My email is Keith, K-E-I-T-H, Keith, at mentorshipmastery.com. Now would be a great time to grab a pen and paper. You'll probably need it sometime this evening anyways. You can write down my email. It's Keith at mentorshipmastery.com. If you've got a teenager between the age of 14 to 17, send me an email and I will send you an email back or call you and give you some more information on our 2014 teen event. If it keeps going like it is right now, we'll probably be sold out here before the end of the year even, and I'm very excited about it. It's a one-week interactive high-octane leadership event that we train principles similar to what you'll experience tonight to the young adults of the next generation. So a very important event. So if you've got teenagers, get a hold of me. And the last announcement I'm extremely excited about, I wanted to announce, I've been saving it to announce live tonight, our October keynote. So you may want to write this down, save the date for October. You'll be getting an email on it here shortly for the actual date. But our October keynote is international best-selling author Chris Widener. I'm so excited to have Chris in our studios. We'll be Skyping and doing an interview together, but he'll be here broadcasting with us next month. And so we're very excited about that. He has been in relationship and worked with very closely people like Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn. I mean, these were icons of the industry, and he's been around all of them. And he himself has been on some of the biggest stages of the world. And so it'll be a real treat to have him in the Mentorfish community with us next month. You will not want to miss Chris Widener, I can promise you that. I would consider him even an icon of mine in the industry. So it'll be a very humbled opportunity for me to get to interview him and bring his life-changing content to all of you. And so you want to mark that down for next month. It'll be a phenomenal event. So let's jump into this evening's topic. I'm going to suggest it's probably, if I could prioritize, and this is just me personally, and if you know me, I'm very laid back. As you can tell, it's still pretty summer here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, very hot, you know, but I'm also very authentic. And one of the things I think is most important for us to learn is about our greatness. How do we begin to walk in the direction of our greatness? Now, when I say that word, some people go, well, greatness. Well, what is greatness and what does that look like? And do I have a greatness? And the first thing I want you to hear from me this evening, if you don't hear anything else from me all evening long, I'd like you to hear this. You, no matter where you're at, no matter what phase of life you are in right now or where you are currently located on the planet, you have greatness. We all have a greatness. Maybe you call it a passion or a vision or a talent or a gift. I call it our greatness. You know, there's a book that came out years ago called A Purpose-Driven Life. For me, your purpose, the greatness, those are the same thing. And I believe we all have one. And so I want to share with you some principles that are very, very important. And they're actually so important to me. They are the exact reason why we are here tonight. They're the exact reason why Mentorship Mastery, the company, exists. It's the exact reason why I've been speaking for 16 years all over the world. It's the reason that mentorfish.com exists, because everything that we do is put in place to help you begin to see that you have greatness. And not only do you have greatness, but how do you unlock it? How do you begin to walk into it? And how do you begin to live in it? And that's what I'm about. My mission statement is to help educate everyone, everywhere, excluding no one. You say, Keith, educate what? Educate people on how to unlock their greatness so that you can live lives of true abundance. And I define true abundance as an increased life, an increase in your health, your relationships, your business, your finances, all those different areas of your life, your spiritual growth. How do you live an increased life? You know, what I'm about in my life right now is I'm about establishing a new normal. You know, people do great things, I've done great things, but I want a new normal. I want my new normal to be so far above the average mean that it's greatness. And I believe you have that as well. But can you walk at that new normal? I want you to create a new normal. I want all of us, I want the people that are listening tonight and people all over the world to stop settling for the average. I believe we are in a greatness epidemic. That's not a United States thing. It's not a political thing. I think it's a world thing right now. There are so many people that are not walking in their true greatness because they don't know some of the very things that I want to share with you this evening. You know, many of you, it might be a little small behind me, but I never speak without this quote behind me, because when I finally understood this, my life began to change. This is probably the second most, I'm going to give you the first most a little later, but this is probably the second most important quote of our entire company. You cannot walk towards your greatness. You can only walk away from it. You cannot walk toward your greatness. You can only walk away from it. What I'm here to share with you this evening to begin is this. So many people think, well, if I could just get over there, I would be great. If I could just get this amount of money in my bank account, then I would be great. Or I'll be great when I'm this age. What I'm saying is so many people look for greatness somewhere out here. It's not out here. It's in here. Out here is a reflection of what we believe is true in here. So what I want you to understand is we have that greatness. You can't walk towards it. You can't go find it. But I've met many, many people, unfortunately, I've met thousands of people in my career all over the world that choose to walk away from their greatness. And it's not because they don't want their greatness. That's what I want to help you understand. I've met thousands of people that choose to walk away from their greatness, but it's not because they don't want their greatness. It's because they don't know how to unlock it. They don't know how to get from where they are to where they want to be. They don't know how to get past the gap between where they are and where their greatness is in their life out in front of them. And so that's what I want to talk about tonight. You know, tonight, if you want to title tonight's message, it's why is there a gap? Is there a gap in your life? Or is there a gap in your business? See, oftentimes we find gaps. You know, I've defined the gap as the distance between where we are and where we want to be. I call it the gap effect. You know, many years ago, I kind of coined that phrase, the gap effect. And I have experienced them in my own life before, the gap effect. You know, the gap effect is the distance between me and where I want to be, maybe in my health, or the gap between where I am and where I want to be in my finances, or where I am and where I want to be in my greatness or in my business. And so as you're listening, no matter where you are in the world today, tonight, ask yourself, what are some examples of gaps that might be in your life right now? Maybe you say, Keith, I connect to what you're saying. I believe I do have a greatness, but this greatness has always seemed like something that's so far over here that I'm nowhere near, and that my life right now is way over here. You know, and I've noticed that about people. You know, when I visit with people, they often tell me what their dreams are, what their passions are, where they want to be in their life or their business. And it's a phenomenal thing to hear. I love hearing about what makes people passionate and what is linked to their greatness. But what I've noticed is what I just shared with you. What they're often describing to me is way over here. Like I'm putting my right hand out way over here. It's way over here. It's like somewhere other than where they're at, something they always talk about and think about and hope they could get there someday, but it's not really all that real to them. But what is real to them right now in their life is they're nowhere near it. They're way over here. And to say the very least, they would say, Keith, yes, I can maybe see a speck of my greatness, or I know it's there, but you are correct. There is a huge gap between where I am today and where I would like to be tomorrow. Well, welcome to the club. Welcome to normalcy. You know, a lot of people have gaps in their life. I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you. But I want to share with you some information tonight that is so extremely important to your life that if I could share with you anything else tonight, I wouldn't. I would share with you this. If I could only pick one thing, like for example, if somebody just told me, my producer came in and Jeremy stood up and said, Keith, this is the last time you're ever going to teach live. What would you teach? This is what I would teach you. How do you identify, eliminate, and prevent the gaps that in your life? That's what I'm covering in the next few short moments that we have together tonight. But I wanted to tee you up first and make sure you understood. You have a greatness. We all have a greatness. You cannot walk towards it. You can only walk away from it. So what is yours tonight? Think about it. Bring it to the forefront of your thoughts so you can think about applying what I want to share with you this evening to helping you get where you want to go, because my goal is to help you begin to eliminate the gaps in your life. But we've got to talk about how do we identify them, how do we eliminate them, then how do we prevent them? Because it's not just a snap into fingers. Now I'm going to teach you tonight in just the moments that we have together, but it's a philosophy, it's something you're going to be able to get to work with. It doesn't happen overnight. I want to tell you that right from the very beginning. What I want to share with you tonight will take time. You know, if you want hype and you want excitement, there's a lot of other resources out there in the industry that are all about motivation, hype, and excitement. I'm talking about principles that have the ability to change the foundation of who you are and change the actual fiber of what your life looks like. But it will take time. Nothing great happens overnight. Did you know that? If you ever read about overnight success, find out how often they're there the next morning. Normally they're not. And if you think you found an overnight success, the truth probably is there's probably a few more chapters to the book that you don't know about, that you haven't read about, that happened before what we are describing as an overnight success. All greatness takes time. So I want to set you up to win from the very beginning this evening. That's why we've built this entire community. That's why I've dedicated my life to educating people, to give them the tools and the resources to help them move down the path, to gain momentum, to begin to unlock who they are and take action in progression towards their greatness. So know that it's going to take time. You're going to get it tonight. I'm going to invite you to listen to this training again and again, especially if you're a Mentorfish. If you're not a Mentorfish, I'm going to invite you to become a member of Mentorfish. It's $9.90 a month. For less than 2 cups of coffee, you can get plugged into the world's most affordable resource for leadership and professional development training. And we've positioned it that way for a reason. So anybody who wants it, anybody who needs it, anybody who believes in what it is they want, can have access to the training and education that will help them get it without sending them into debt or breaking their bank account. That was very important to me, because before I started walking into the level of greatness that I have today, I didn't have a whole lot, and somebody helped me. That's our mission. You know, we actually call it philanthrocation, philanthropy through education. Our price is so inexpensive, we actually call it philanthropy, philanthrocation. We do it at such a cheap price, we give you such a high level of education, so you'll have the tools to begin to walk it out in your life. That's what we're here tonight about. So let me share this with you. The gaps. Where do they come from? You ever thought about that? Okay, Keith, I got it. There's a gap. Where do they come from? See, our gaps come from the foundation of who we are. Now, I'm going to kind of give you some highlights, and then don't worry, you may be taking notes really, really quick, but then I'm going to come back around and wrap back around and explain this all to you step by step. But something causes the gaps in our life. Something causes those to pop up. And I want you to know we're going to be able to, I'm going to unpack that for you tonight. If you ever want to know why those gaps are there or where they come from, I'm going to unpack that knowledge to you this evening so you can identify before we go tonight, where are your gaps coming from? But you know, before I go too much further, I want you to see something else that I identified many years ago. Not only did I see gaps in people's lives, in a lot of different areas of their lives, so not only did I notice the gap, you know, the distance between where we are and where we'd like to be, I saw gaps in people's lives, but on top of that, I saw something else that I think was even more, I don't know, shocking is the right word, or surprising. And it was almost saddening because I noticed something that people were doing and many people didn't even notice they were doing it. But here's what it was. Not only would they not produce what it is they say they would want in their life, so not only would they not produce the things they say they want, but they were continually and consistently producing the things they say they didn't want. Did you catch that? I want you to think about that for a second. So what I noticed that was even more shocking than the gap effect, I also noticed on top of the gaps in our lives that people were creating what they say they didn't want over what it is they say they did want. So not only were they not creating what it is they said they wanted in their life, they were continually and consistently creating the things they said they didn't want. Have you ever noticed that about somebody? Maybe somebody you know very well. Maybe somebody in your life or your business or your family. They talk about where they want to be all the time. They say what they're going to do all the time, but they never do it. But yet they continually and consistently create the results in their life that they continually tell you that they don't want anymore. But yet they don't do anything different. That was mind-boggling to me. That was mind-boggling. And there's something that causes all of that, and I want to describe it to you here this evening. You know, I want to give you a quote. You may want to write this down because this is our number one quote as a company. This is the fiber of the gap effect. It's at the foundation, at the bottom of why we don't produce what we say we want, but we'll often produce the things that we say we don't want. I want you to write this down because, and then I want you to underline it because it's at the core of everything I'm going to be teaching you this evening. It's at the core of everything we do as a company. And here's the quote. Often times in life, people will produce results around wanting to be right, not necessarily successful. Often times in life, people will produce results around wanting to be right, not necessarily successful. So the question you want to ask yourself is, what is it you are looking to be right about? Oftentimes in life, people produce results around wanting to be right, not necessarily successful. So the question is, what are you looking to be right about? And the answer is, whether you knew it or not, what you are looking to be right about are the stories that are in the foundation of who you are. I'm going to say that again. What you're looking to be right about, whether you knew it or not, what you're looking to be right about are the stories that are in your foundation about who you believe you are, about what you believe is possible, about what you believe you can do or can't do. So you're looking to be right about the stories that are in your foundation. And I say, Keith, what do you mean? Whoa. What is the foundation? And what are these stories and where do they all come from? Well, that's what I want to explain to you. And I'm going to even give you a diagram here in just a moment too to make sure you really get this evening or this morning, depending on what part of the world you're in today. But see, the stories in our life come from the events of our life. I'm going to say that again. The stories in our life come from the events that have taken place in our life. So how many of you, if I could see you raising your hand right now, how many of you would say, Keith, I've had some events take place in my life? You would say, yeah, you'd raise your hand. Many of you would. I would raise my hand as well. Many of us have had events take place in our life. Those events take place, and we think they mean something. They actually don't. The events all by themselves don't mean anything, but our human nature, this is Psychology 101, we cannot stand to have something not mean something. So we'll make up a story to that event. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're in business and you failed at something. You tried to start a business maybe and it failed. So the event was the business failed. All by itself, does that event mean anything? The answer is no, it does not. But what happens most of the time is we will make up a story to what that event means. Something like, that business failed, so I must be a failure. That business failed, so I must be a loser. Or that business failed, so every time that I start a business, I'm going to fail. See, the event, and then we make up the story. See, also, Psychology 101, if we are left ungoverned, which means uneducated, untrained, unaware, we will default to a negative story, not a positive story. So if you could see, if you begin to take those stories up, I'm a loser, I'm a failure, Every time I try something that doesn't work, you took those stories, and those stories went into the foundation of who you are. And the foundation of who you are is responsible for creating the results in your life. What kind of results do you think you would experience in your life? Exactly. Exactly. That's my point. See, I'm going to suggest that 95%, at least, maybe even higher, 95% of all the decisions that you think you're making, you're not even making. I am suggesting that you are completely out of control. How's that for a shocker? Now I probably got your attention. 95% of all the decisions you think you're making, you're not even making. Think about it this way. If it were up to you, you would already be in the midst of your greatness. If you were in charge and you were making the decisions, you would already probably made the decision to be making more money right now. All those different things. So if you're not making those decisions, what is making those decisions for you? And what is making those decisions for you is your foundation. See, it's the foundation of who we are. See, when your foundation starts to have stories in it that do not serve you, that foundation begins to produce gaps in your life between where you are and where you'd like to be. Are you following this? See, it's our foundation that will determine how far we don't get into the midst of our greatness. I've often said it this way. Maybe this will ring true for you. You will never outperform your own self-portrait. Did you know that? You will never outperform your own self-portrait. What's your self-portrait? The picture that you have of yourself in the foundation of who you are, based on the stories you've allowed to come into your foundation from the events that have taken place in your life. See, maybe you've met somebody that's often said, well, Keith, or whatever your name is, Keith, well, I'm not at where I'd like to be because if you only knew what happened to me when I was a kid. I had this happen to me, that happened to me, and they list a bunch of events, and they're blaming why they're not where they want to be on the events that have taken place in their life. Watch this. I can prove to you it's not the events. Because for any event, anyone who's ever given me an event that they blame for why they're not where they'd like to be, I can give them an example of someone else who has experienced that exact same event, and they blame it on why they are so successful. Are you following this? So for any event that somebody could give me as an excuse on why they're not walking in their greatness, I can give them an example of someone else who's experienced that exact same event, and they blame it on why they are so successful. So see, it's not the event. It's the stories that we make up to the events in our life that determine what we do and what we do not do. See, what causes the gaps are the stories in our foundation. Because oftentimes in life, people will create results around wanting to be right, not necessarily successful. We want to be right about the stories in our foundation. That's why it is so important to know how to be aware and how to govern the stories that are in your foundation. Because if the stories in your foundation are not serving you, there will always be a gap in your life. If the stories in your foundation are not serving you, you will always produce the things you say you don't want. Because what you say has nothing to do with what you create. What you want has nothing to do with what you create. What you believe is true for you has everything to do with what you create. You can talk about where you want to be. You can convince everybody it's where you want to be. But if you don't believe in here it's possible for you, if you don't believe you have that greatness or that ability, you will never experience it because you will never outperform your own self-portrait. You will never outperform what you believe is true for you. That's why it's so important to be aware of the stories that are in your foundation. You know, I want to explain this. I'm going to draw here just for a second because I want to make sure you understand. I want to give you an analogy of the foundation so you can see right now, right here, wherever you are watching this, what I mean by this. Because when you get it, it'll begin to change everything in your life. Because I know it will. You want to know how I know? Because it began to change everything in my life. It's changed a lot of things in a lot of people's lives all over the world in my last 16 years traveling the earth with my mission statement to educate everyone, everywhere, excluding no one with these truths so more people can eliminate the gap in their life and get into their greatness. So I'm going to draw a line here, and it may be small on your TV or on your computer, and I know many of you right now have groups of people watching all in one location, so I'm going to describe it as I'm drawing it as well. I just drew a straight line across here. That's the ground. I'm going to draw a house on top of the ground. You know, we live in a world today, no matter where you are, most people that live on the planet and all these different houses that we have on our planet, they all want more. Have you noticed that? Everybody wants more. Well, Keith, I want more money. I want more people. I want a bigger team. I want a bigger business. I want more success. I want more, 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 more. And they spend their entire life trying to figure out how to get more, even though very few people really know how. That's why I'm so dedicated to education like this, because I want to give you the truth on how to do it. But the truths are often different than what a lot of people are doing out there in the world today. So let's role play here for a second. Let's say you live in this neighborhood, and you come out one morning, your front door of your home, and you look up and down the street and you say, you know what? I want more. I want more. I want more of my greatness, for example. I want more. And as you're saying that, somebody else next to you, your neighbor comes out, they say, you know what? Hey, I want more too. Then all of a sudden, before you know it, there's 2 or 3 other neighbors out, and they're all saying, hey, I want more too. Before you know it, the whole neighborhood's out, and everyone's saying, I want more. I want more. I want more. And then somebody goes, well, hey, how do you think we should get more? What do you think we should do? Well, how do we get more? And everybody kind of stops for a second and stares at each other. And then all of a sudden, one person way down on the end of the street says, hey, I heard if you paint your roof blue, you'll have more in your life. And everybody kind of looks at each other like, painting your roof blue? What does that even mean? That doesn't even make sense. Will that even work? But before you can even get will that work out of your mouth, guess what someone is already doing? They're painting their roof blue because they want more so bad. So before you know it, what's everybody doing? Everybody's painting their roof blue because that's what everybody else is doing. And if everybody else is doing it, then it must be the thing to do, right? Wrong. So you paint your roof blue, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, you come out expecting more in your life because that's how most people live their life. They just think if they wake up again the next day, their entitlement tells them they think they should have more just because they're awake another day. That's called entitlement. That's another whole training that we will get to. Probably not tonight, but we talk a lot about it in Mentorfish. A lot of people on this planet wrestle and struggle with entitlement. They just think they should be in their greatness just because they simply want to be. And that's not what it takes to get there. So you come out the next morning looking for more, and what do you discover? There's not much more of anything except a lot of blue roofs. So you think to yourself, well, hey, that didn't work, but I still want more. And guess what? So do your neighbors. So does everybody on your street, and so does everybody in your neighborhood. So they all start saying, I want more, I want more, I want more. And then somebody yells out, hey, I heard if you want more, all you have to do is paint your front door green. And then, what do you know it? Before you know it, somebody's painting their front door green because that's what somebody said they should do. And everybody's expecting to have more in their life. So you paint your front door green as well. Go to bed the next night, wake up the next morning, and you come out expecting more. And what do you see? Nothing more except a lot of green front doors and blue roofs. See, my point that I'm trying to help you understand tonight is this. Most people in life, here's a very important principle. I hope you catch this. Hope you write this down if you're taking notes. Most people in life, when they want more, they spend the majority of their life working on the surface of their life or above the surface of their life trying to get more. And that's not where more comes from. If you truly want to experience more in your life, whether it be in your business, your faith, your family, your life, your finances, you want to work on things that are beneath the surface. You want to work on the foundation of the house. See, now you maybe see the analogy. I'm not really talking about a house. I'm talking about us. We want to work on the foundation of who we are. So many times people try to supplement things into the surface of their life to hotwire or short circuit the system to try to get more. And it doesn't last. A house of cards will always fall down sooner or later. If you want long-term momentum, long-term gain, and you want to begin to walk in your level of greatness that is something you've dreamed about for years, you want to be able to look at the foundation of who you are. So the first thing you want to learn how to do, number one, is called self-awareness. Now I'm kind of giving you I'm giving you all the peripheral around the main principles that I want to drive home with you this evening. So the stories are in our foundation. It's the foundation that produces the results for us in our life. Remember, it's the foundation that causes the gaps in our life. Remember, the gaps are the distances between where we are and where we'd like to be. Why do we not produce what we say we want, but we always produce the things that we say we don't want? Because of the stories that are in our foundation. So number one is called self-awareness. Let me define that for you if you're taking notes this evening. Self-awareness is the ability for you to look at your foundation. Okay? Self-awareness is the ability for you to look at your foundation. Now you say, Keith, well, what am I looking for? You are looking for the stories that are in your foundation. Self-awareness is the ability to be aware of the stories that have been put into your foundation from the events of your life. The stories that you've made up about the events have gone into your foundation. If there's a gap in your life and you're not producing the things that you say you'd like to have in your life, and there's a distance between where you are and where you'd like to be, we're looking, saying, hey, what's going on? What's making the decisions for me? Well, that's called self-awareness. Looking at self, looking at your foundation, and looking at what is in it. So what you're looking for are the stories that are in your foundation. Now, one of the first things I teach to everyone I teach live, whether it's in a live broadcast like this, or I'm on a keynote stage, or in our 2-day events here at our beautiful Greatness Center here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I always make sure people understand this. When you begin to see the stories that are in your foundation, and you begin to bump into some stories that may not be serving you, don't make them wrong or right. Don't ask yourself, is this story wrong or right? Am I a winner or a loser? Is this healthy or unhealthy? Don't go there. That's not going to serve you. Ask yourself this question. Is this story, when you become self-aware and you notice a story in your foundation, ask yourself this question. You absolutely, I beg you, write this down. Is this story serving me? That's the question that has the power to change your life. That's the question that has the power to change your business. That's the question that has the power to change your marriage. When you ask yourself that question, is this story serving me? If it's not, I'm going to teach you what to do with it in just a moment. You may also notice some stories that are serving you. I'm not suggesting your foundation is only full of stories that aren't serving you, but what I am suggesting, it is the stories that are not serving you that are keeping you from getting where you want to go. The stories that are serving you aren't the ones responsible for keeping you where you want to go. It's the stories that are not serving you. So that's why I'm talking about the stories that are not serving you. If you discover stories that are serving you, say, hey, Keith, that story is absolutely serving me. Then keep it, cultivate it, nourish it, and continue to let it be part of who you are, because you want to keep stories that are serving you in your foundation. I'm talking about the stories you would find right now that say, you know what, that's not serving me. That is absolutely causing a gap in my life. See, that's how we identify the gaps. See, the gaps get identified by the stories that we see in our foundation. Once we identify them, we can eliminate them, and then we can learn how to prevent them. So how do you identify the gaps? Through self-awareness. The ability to look at your foundation for the stories that are in your foundation and ask yourself that question, is this story serving me? So let me give you an example. These are just random examples of stories that I've encountered in my speaking career that people have said, excuse me, that are in their foundation that are not serving them. Low self-esteem, doubt, fear, lack of worthiness, anger, bitterness, resentment, unforgiveness. I mean, those are just examples. I mean, I think you could probably go on a lot longer, and so could I, but you're getting the point. Those are examples of stories that occupy many, many people's foundations on the planet today. Do you think a story of fear is going to help you grow your business? No. Do you think a story of unforgiveness is going to serve you in having a wonderful relationship with a spouse or a loved one? Nope. Do you think a story of your lack of worthiness is going to serve you into walking into your greatness? No. What about doubt or anger? No. Those are all examples of stories that do not serve you. Are you seeing what I'm saying? See, oftentimes in life, people create results around wanting to be right, not necessarily successful. So what we're looking to be right about are the stories in our foundation. And when we're right, we'll produce in accordance with what we believe is true for us. If you don't believe you deserve greatness, you'll never find it. If you believe having money is bad, you'll never have it. So what you do here, when you're self-aware, I'm going to teach you the second step right now. When you notice a story that's not serving you, here's what you want to do. You want to do number two. Number one is self-awareness. Number two is called self-governing. Self-governing. Let me define that for you. I hope and I suggest, and I believe most of you are probably taking notes by now. Self-governing is the ability to exchange the stories in your foundation that are not serving you for ones that will serve you. Self-governing is the ability to exchange the stories in your foundation that are not serving you for ones that will serve you. Maybe you heard me earlier talk about our 2-day exchange event. I think maybe I just kind of gave it away. We have an entire 2-day live event, which, by the way, we have an online 2-day exchange event in Mentorfish as well. If you can't travel here, just for the record. We have an entire 2-day course, a 2-day seminar, a 2-day conference. The whole thing's dedicated to learning how to make this exchange that we're talking about. But I'm giving you the highlights. I'm giving you enough. I'm giving you the pieces, the meat tonight that you can take home with you and begin to work on right now, even tonight before you fall asleep, or this morning before you go to your lunch, depending on what half of the world you're on. But the self-governing part is very important. When you see stories in your foundation that are not serving you, you want to exchange them. You want to push them out one side and exchange them with ones into your foundation that will serve you. So that example I gave you earlier, you started a business, maybe you failed. The story that didn't serve you was, I'm a loser. A story that would serve you is, hey, I've just learned what doesn't work, so I'm one step closer to what might work. And failure is not failure. Failure is an event. I'm not an event. I'm a person. I learned something from that. I'm now better equipped with that knowledge to go out and try again. And now my odds of being successful are even higher. See how the new stories would serve you and continuing on, and the old stories would lock you up and cause a gap in your life? That's why it's so important. You've got to be aware of the stories that are in your foundation. You've got to learn how to be self-aware, to look for the stories. Then you got to learn how to self-govern and learn how to exchange the stories that are not serving you for ones that will, because see, it's the foundation of who we are that dictates who we will be. You know, I love to read this book. This is a very old book. It's a very ancient book. It was written about 2,000 years ago. In this book, there's a parable that states this. It says, as a man or a woman thinketh in their heart, so will he or she be. It says, as a man or woman thinketh in their heart, so will he or she be. See, the heart is another name for the foundation of who we are. See, who we think we are, what we believe is true at a foundational level for ourselves is what we will create. And if our stories aren't in congruence, if they're not in integrity, if they're not in alignment with what our greatness is and where we would like to go, the stories that don't serve us will sabotage our lives, and we will end up settling for something less than our greatness without even knowing it. We'll just think, well, that doesn't happen for me, it doesn't work for me, or, you know, Keith, you know, wasn't in the deck of cards for my life, or I didn't have the advantages everybody else had. None of that's true. It all comes down to the stories that are in your foundation. We take the stories, we make them up from the events in our life that go into our foundation, and if we're not careful, they'll rob us of our greatness. That's why I'm so passionate about this piece of education. You know, no school teaches this, no university teaches this. Most faith-based organizations don't teach this either. So that's why I'm so passionate about it, because if you don't get it from somewhere, if you don't get it here, I don't know where you find it. You've got to begin to understand how this works so you can get the stories out of you that aren't serving you and exchange them for ones that will. You know, I'm going to show this to you. If you don't know me very well, one of the things I love to do is I love to show you why and how something works. I just don't like to tell people it works. I want to show you why it works. So then you can really get it, because if you don't get it, you'll say, okay, that was good content. I really appreciate you sharing it with me tonight. But see, I want tonight to be something different for you. Whether it's tonight or you're listening to the recorded version of this message, I want this moment in your life to be a different moment for you than maybe any other moment in your life. Maybe this little drop of education, which to me, it's a lake of education, bigger than a drop, an ocean of education. When you begin to see the power in your life, when you begin to see the power of it, it can change your life. Maybe this is a moment for you where you're taking the stake and you're jabbing it into the ground and saying, wait a second, I'm not accepting the gaps anymore. I'm going to walk in my greatness. I'm going to move towards it. I'm going to progress towards it. I'm going to exchange the stories out of my life that I know are not serving. Maybe that's your moment right now. That's my passion. That's why I do what I do. That's why I'm here taking my time to share with all of you this evening as well, because I want you to get this. I want you to get it like I got it, because when I got it, everything in my life changed. Nothing excites me more than when I see people that, whether I'm teaching live or in our Mentorfish community that now has thousands of members all over the world, nothing excites me more when they send me a testimony or a report saying, hey, Keith, I got it and I applied it and here's what's going on in my life right now. 12 months ago I was here and now look at where I'm at. 36 months ago I was lost and now look at what I'm doing. It's got nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the principles, but nothing makes me more excited than when I get emails and instant messages like that, because then I know people's lives are being changed. You know, if you're taking notes, I'm going to show you one more thing here in our final moments. I drew this line down the center of the page and then I drew a line across the top. If you would, on the upper left-hand side, please write the word event, because I want to prove this theory to you tonight. I don't want you just to like it and think it's cool. I want to prove it to you so you can see how it works, so you can use it in your life. On the upper left-hand side, please write the word event. And over here on the upper right-hand side, please write the word story. Okay? Now I'm going to prove to you how the stories and the events get into our foundation and how they produce results in our life, okay? So we've agreed already, even though I can't see you, that events do take place in life. I gave you that example earlier. You tried to start a business, but it failed. Maybe somebody left your business. Maybe you've been through a failed marriage. Maybe you've had somebody hurt you. Those are all different types of events that can take place in your life. And we could probably go on and on and on and on and on about the different events that we've had in our lives. So then what happens in life, as I mentioned earlier, is we cannot stand to have something not mean something. So what we do is we go out and we make up a story to the event. And as I mentioned earlier, if we are uneducated and ungoverned and we're unaware, we will default to a negative story like, I'm a failure, they don't like me, my marriage has never worked, I'm not worthy, I'm a loser. And we make up stories to the events that have taken place in our life. So what happens is an event takes place, and then what we do is we go out and we make up a story. Now, I don't know what you're doing right now, but I'm going to ask for your complete undivided attention, if just for a moment, because I want to show you something that brings all this together. So if I can have your attention just for a moment. Events take place. And then what we do is we go out and we make up a story. And then, follow this. This is where the power comes in. And then, out of our need to be right, we will actually go back out in our lives and create more events so we can be right about the story that doesn't even serve us. Did you all follow that? Events take place in our life. Then we go out and make up a story to it. And then out of a need to be right, we'll actually go back out in life and create more events in our life just so we can be right about the stories that we've got made up in our lives, even if they do not serve us. So if you want to know, why do we not produce what it is that we say we want, but yet we'll continually and consistently produce the things that we say we don't want? This is why. Because we continually have a need to be right. Oftentimes in life, people will create results around wanting to be right, not necessarily successful. So the question you want to ask yourself right now is, what are you looking to be right about? And as I mentioned earlier, whether you knew it or not, what you are looking to be right about are the stories that are in your foundation. That's why you want to be self-aware. Self-aware is the ability to look at your foundation for the stories. So then you can ask yourself, is this story serving me or is it not? And if it's not, you want to exchange it. Because if it's not serving you and you don't exchange it, your life will continue to look like this cycle. The gap will always be between who you are and where you want to be. There will always be a distance between where you are in your business and where you want your business to be if you don't get this. When you get this, you can begin to do the exchange. And remember, the exchange was self-governing. The ability to exchange the stories out of your foundation that are not serving you for ones that will serve you. And see, what happens when you have an event story like this, what can't happen is the events never change. The events are just the events. But what's powerful about everything in our life is we can choose. We can choose the story. So make up a new story. When you identify a story that's not serving you in your life, make up a new one. I want to give you a hint. Make up one that will serve you. Because you will be just as right about that one as you were about the one that doesn't serve you, because our need to be right is part of our human nature. It's never going to change. The only thing that can change is what you want to be right about. See? If you want to be right about something, at least be right about a story that will align with who you are and where you want to be in your greatness. Because, see, most people don't know this. See, what happens in life is this. You can rewrite your story. Isn't it exciting to know? Most people didn't know that. Most people think they have to settle for the stories, but what the truth is this. You can pull this up like this. See, the events are still there, kind of, even though my paper tore a little funny. The events are still there. But guess what you get to do? You can write a whole new line of stories in your life. So you can say, you know what, it failed, but I'm smarter now. Somebody left my business. Thank God they left my business so I can replace them with 2 more. I learned in that marriage what didn't work so I can take it to me in a future marriage, and I'm lovable and they're lovable and I'm deserving of love. And you can have a story that serves you there. Somebody hurt you. You hope you give them the benefit of the doubt, and you know what? They probably had a foundation in their life from something as well that didn't give them the ability to love you the way they should have loved you. You give them the benefit of the doubt, but you make up something that will serve you in moving forward. You know, I grew up financially without. I had a story that I was a second-class citizen. How do you think a story about being a second-class citizen would serve me in creating a company that's worldwide now based on leadership and professional development? How well do you think that would have served me? It wouldn't have. We wouldn't have been here if I hadn't learned this many years ago in my career. I exchanged that story. Hey, you know, I grew up financially without. That means I'm going to have to die rich. It's as simple as that. See, I made up a story that's the opposite of the one that didn't serve me, and I make up a new story that will serve me. See, then I put that new story into my foundation. I begin to cultivate that story. I don't allow the old stories to come back in. I've exchanged them. I put new stories. I am worthy. I am deserving. I am lovable. I forgive. Let the forgiving go. Let get out of the resentment and get that stuff out of your foundation, because I'm going to tell you what, the health of your foundation will be directly related and linked to the proportion of the greatness you experience in your life. The healthier you are in your foundation, the more greatness you'll live in your life. The less healthy your foundation is, the less you'll experience the greatness that you have in your mind or your heart or your vision for where you'd like to be in your life. So I want to challenge you as you're listening with me. As I've been sharing this with you, you've probably identified at least one story that you have in your life that's not serving you. I'm going to challenge you, if you're on this half of the world, before you go to sleep tonight, I'm going to challenge you to rewrite that story. Exchange it for a story that will serve you. If you're on the other half of the world, I'm going to challenge you before lunchtime. Exchange at least one story. I know from my 16 years of experience, you've thought of at least, well, Keith, you know what? You're probably right. That's an example of a story in my life that doesn't serve me. Or maybe you thought of one that I didn't use as an example tonight, but you know you have at least one story in your life that's not serving you. If even one of you, no matter where you're at, whether you're watching this live or record it, take that challenge and you do it, then everything I've just done tonight has been worth it. Because that's how it starts. How do you eliminate the gaps in your life? You exchange the stories in your life. How do you identify them? Remember, we're talking about identifying the gaps, eliminating the gaps, and preventing the gaps. Identify them through self-awareness. From the stories in our foundation, are they serving me? Yes or no? If they're not, you want to exchange them. When you exchange stories out of your foundation that are not serving you for ones that will, you'll begin to eliminate the gaps in your life. You say, Keith, how do you prevent the stories in your life? Well, I'm going to give a very short answer because we're almost out of time tonight. You prevent the gaps in your life by continually pouring in new stories and making sure you keep the new stories that serve you in your foundation. Well, how do you do that? You plug into something continually and consistently, like mentorfish. You grow yourself, you educate yourself, you put yourself around other mentors, other people that will believe in you and help you remind yourself of the things that will help you get where you want to go. Not feed the things in you that are not serving you, that they'll feed the things in you that will serve you. That's why we have daily trainings. Every day in Mentorfish, I teach a daily 15-minute mentorship moment every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Why? Because I want to give you more content, more knowledge, more education on how to continually build your foundation in all the different areas of leadership and professional and personal development. So you begin to get those truths into who you are. So you say, you know what, that is me. I can do that. I've learned that now. I can go and apply that now. I teach it every single day. You surround yourself with a group of people to hold you accountable and to feed off of and have synergy with, and that iron sharpens iron, which is why we built Mentorfish on a community platform. So you can literally be around thousands of other people doing the same thing and moving in the same direction you are. You know, Mentorfish, there's a couple meanings there in the name. Fish, a group of fish. Why? Why do they swim together in a school? Because there's protection, there's momentum, there's synergy. We're a group of people. And I believe as we begin to create a bigger and bigger impact on the planet, that group of people will become bigger and bigger and bigger, because I believe as we begin to unlock people's greatnesses through this education and bring people back to, hey, wait a second, I don't have to settle. I can get there. I can now learn how to identify the gap, eliminate the gap, and prevent the gaps. More and more people are going to walk into their greatness. More and more people are going to spread this education, whether it's mine or something similar to it, or whether it's me teaching or you reteaching it. I don't care how it gets out. But this piece of education, the exchange, and the gaps have got to get out to more people's lives so more people can live a truly abundant life. I hope and trust that you created value this evening. I hope you are going to take my challenge to exchange that story, at least one story in your foundation. And of course, I want you to exchange more than that, if you will, because when you begin to understand the power of the exchange, you'll see your life look totally different. You know, I just released a brand new ebook not long ago called The Exchange. It's on Amazon.com. I do want to tell you this though. It does cost money. It may set you back a little bit. It cost $4.90. It's called The Exchange. If you want more information on The Exchange, I invite you to go to Amazon.com and check out our brand new ebook called The Exchange. It talks about all this in much greater detail. You know, if you're in Mentorfish, come out to our exchange event or go to our online exchange event in the Mentorfish community. If you're a guest, I want to very humbly invite you, if you created any value in what I had to share with you this evening, I would invite you to visit Mentorfish.com. We have free content there that you can sample, free samples of the daily 15-minute trainings. We do keynotes like this every single month. You know, we've had some of the biggest names in the community. As I mentioned, we're having another huge name next month that I'm totally excited about. We have boot camps. We have online curriculums. In October, we're launching our 4th quarter challenge of the year called the Balance Challenge. It's probably one of our biggest challenges of our entire year. How do you go through the holiday season balanced in your life and in your business and your family? The Balance Challenge, that's a huge challenge that we offer. But if you like anything that you've experienced, go to Mentorfish.com and check it out. It's $9.90 a month for less than 2 cups of coffee. You can be connected to this level of education. And I also want to tell you this, it has a 30-day money-back 100% guarantee, and we also have a no upsell guarantee. Because so many people think, well, Keith, if it's only $9, what are you going to sell me once you get in? You probably sell me, you talk really fast. Maybe you're going to sell me a whole bunch of other stuff. Well, I talk really fast because I'm passionate. And I want to get as much out to you in the time that I have with you as I can, so I can help you change your life and walk into more of your greatness. But I can tell you this, we absolutely have a no upsell guarantee, which means once you're in the community, you can't spend more than $9.90 a month with our company, even if you wanted to. The only thing that's excluded from that is the teen event that I mentioned at the beginning of the evening. And that's a totally separate deal. But everything else I've just mentioned to you, our 2-day events, the keynotes, the daily moments, the weekly articles, the broadcast, everything is all included for less than 2 cups of coffee a month. I love to invite you to be a member of our community. It's the fastest growing community of its kind right now on the planet. Did you know that? We're very excited. It's very humbling for us. Why is it growing so quickly? Because we are dedicated to educating everyone, everywhere, excluding no one, with this type of education. So I hope and pray that you'll make some exchanges in your life. Even I gave you out my email earlier this evening. It was keith@mentorshipmastery.com. I'd love to hear your feedback tonight. If you created value from tonight's training, whether you're in Mentorfish or you're not, whether you go to Mentorfish or you don't, send me an email and say, Keith, I learned this from your training. Or I'm going to take and do this, because then I'll know at least somebody heard me and at least someone is changing their life. And that's what my greatness is to help other people experience what my mentors helped me experience to walk in my greatness. So I want to tell you, I appreciate your time tonight. I value it. I'm not going to go over, I think we're 3 or 4 minutes early as a matter of fact. So I want to welcome you. I want to thank you for welcoming me into your life for this brief moment of time. I hope you created value in it. Don't miss next month's keynote with Chris Widener. It's going to be phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. And go to mentorfish.com and check us out. I'd love to serve you in the community over the next 12 months. I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Have a great day or have a great night. God bless you.